We're on a competitive journey leading up to Nationals right now, and we started the format off nicely with a second place finish at Locals, but today we have a Regional.
Aye. Subscribe.
Today is going to be a very, very fun day of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because not only do we have a Regional to play in later today, I have figured out some very interesting spicy goo that I have put into our deck list here. You will see the deck profile before we go to the Regional in, a couple of minutes or so for you watching this video. But first, we have a couple of packages to open here. We're actually opening something in the road to Nationals. These are some rarity bumps we have been working towards. Not max rarity, but we are working towards some shinier cardboard. And here is looks like a playset cards. Is that 3 or 4 cards? We have Ultimate Rare Fallen of Albaz. Let's go, baby. We had to buy the playset even though we only played 2. But that wasn't an issue because I'm not against the idea of going up to 3. It might happen at some point in the future. So very, very nice playset of Ultimate Rare Fallen of Albaz there. And our other package isn't quite as exciting, let's be real. It was only like £4 off eBay, but I did get rid of all my copies previously. Now I can finally get one back, and that is not that. Here we go. Boom. Ultra rare Dragos Depalia for the extra deck. Nice. So I think most of the cards that can be holo in the deck are officially holo. Do still need a 3rd Prismatic Secret Aliber, and I think I'm picking up the 3rd Prismatic Secret Fusion Deployment from Chris once we meet him down at Motherwell. But let's rarity bump these, show you the goo, the updated deck profile before we go to the regionals, and then hopefully bring home the dub. Bring home the bacon, baby. Let's do it. All right, we are going to start off with our updated deck profile, and then we'll get into the matchups because I was actually allowed to record all of my gameplay, so big up to Motherwell Geek Retreat for allowing that. We're going to commentate over the games and see where things went in our favor and where they didn't. But yeah, as you can tell from this beautiful Arlecchino playmat in the background, we did top the event, and we came second actually with a 5-1 record, grabbing us a nice little pink deck box as well. It was originally meant to be 8 rounds, but it ended up only being 6 rounds with a total of, I believe, either 62 or 72 players. I can't remember, one of the two. But yeah, we went 5-1. We'll go over the matchups later. Let's go into the deck profile and discuss some of the theory and text that we have here. So, starting off with all of our playmakers, we of course have 3 Keeper of Dragon Magic and 1 Instant Fusion. A lot of people think this package plays into Droll and just isn't worth playing. I disagree with that. You can play around Droll with this, unlike with things like Gold Sark and Foolish Burial. Also, if you see it with like any other playmakers, it doesn't really affect the line. You still play through Ash and Droll, so it's all good. We also have 3 copies of Aliber, 3 copies of Branded Opening, 3 copies of Branded Fusion, 3 copies of Fusion Deployment, and then 1 Quem and 1 Cartesia. These are all of our playmakers. 18 in total gives us about 93% chance of at least being able to do something, and with the new support, Cartesia by itself is actually not terrible to end on, so that's really nice. For the engine requirements, of course, we have 2 Fallen of Albaz, 1 Tragedy, 1 Adalib, 1 Libellion, and 1 Mercurier, 1 Dark Magician. We do still play Dragoon. I didn't respect Cash as much this event, but I think if there's no ban list going into Nats, we'll definitely respect Cash a bit more in terms of extra deck. We also have the 1 Bufo, 1 Cobra, 1 Lost, and 1 Branded in Red. And then for the non-engine, which is kind of like the most controversial and most important part of the format right now, we have 1 Caught by the Grave and 3 Crossout Designator, of course. We have 1 Effect Veiler and 2 Ash Blossom, triple Infinite Impermanence, triple Ghost Ogre, and triple Nibiru for 12 hand traps in the main deck, plus 3 cross art and 1 called by. So 16 non-engine in total. Now the biggest question here most likely is, where is Droll and Lockbird? And I'll be honest, I really don't like Droll and Lockbird. Like, going first, if you see Droll and you activate it, it turns off your Guardian Chimera play and it turns off your Branded Lost Search, so you kind of have to play around that and it gets a little bit awkward. And going second against things like Super Heavy, if you Droll them, that's kind of like the main reason you want to play Droll, right, for Super Heavy. And if you Droll them, they can just go into Baguska, and how do you play through Baguska with Branded is the question. You need something else like Imperm to go along with the Droll, and at that point, if you need 2 non-engine outs, you're better off just stopping them with like a combination of 2 generic hand traps rather than specifically Droll into Imperm, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's the main deck, 45 cards in total. I do like Nibiru. Nibiru is very good against Super Heavy. A lot of people think it's bad into Super Heavy because they make Baron early. This trades into their board so nicely. If they don't open with exactly Bike, you're stopping the Baron, you're stopping the Apollousa, and you're stopping the Genius Search if you put the token in the middle. So they're not getting a search for, you know, Kaiju or Regulus. They can do a rank 4 play for Regulus, but then they're ending on like just Apollousa plus Regulus, and you just crash into the Apollousa with Nibiru. So it's like Nibiru is actually not that bad against the deck. If they play Stardust Dragon specifically, or some other like weird main deck and extra deck counters to play around with the token in that, it does get worse. But standard builds just aren't playing the cards that allow them to play through Nibiru as easily. And a lot of people aren't main decking Nibiru, so that makes sense. I think Nibiru is really good. It's the better of the 3 options between Droll, Shifter, and Nibiru for Super Heavy, in my opinion, at least for branded specifically. Changes, Engine was completely fine. Non-engine, we'll have to see depending on if there's a ban list and if we want to respect cash a little bit more going forward. Who knows. Getting into the extra deck, kind of standard for the most part. We have 2 Albion, 1 Lubellion. Like I said, we haven't really been respecting cash as much. I think that was just a habit of playing the new format. Potentially, if we do go into Nats with no ban list, we will be respecting cash, like I said, and maybe go up to the 2 Lubellion, 2 Dragoon once again. But 2 Mirror Jade, 1 Sprind, and 1 Rindbrum. Rindbrum into Sprind comes up so often that I just can't see myself cutting it. We also have the Instant Fusion targets, Millennium Eyes, and Predaplan Ambulomelides. The Ambulance, very good card. One of the rounds, Instant Fusion was my only starter. I think it was game 3 against Super Heavy. This was my only starter with Instant Fusion, so I summoned this, and I purposely played around the Droll. I didn't search with it, and then activated its second effect to summon Cobra from the deck and search Branded Fusion, and then I got Drolled, but I was able to go full combo because I just normal summoned Cartesia, and you know, you're not searching beyond that point. We also have the Guardian Chimera, 1 Dragoon, 1 Dragostapalia, and 1 Grand Guignol. People are playing 2 Cartesia. If you're playing 2 Cartesia, I think you need to play the second Grand Guignol. Whether that is optimal or not in terms of extra deck space, I don't know. But we also have the Grand Guignol targets 1 Despian Lulu and 1 Golden Cloud Beast Malong. This card is really nice. I bounced a Scarlight with this using Grand Guignol on my opponent's turn, and this just makes fusion deployment like really versatile going second because you're able to force out negates by using this and the Grand Guignol before activating like Branded Fusion or something. This I didn't summon once, and its negate is kind of awkward. There's a lot of kind of like steps involved to get use out of this card. I don't know if it's 100% cuttable. Like, most of the time, if I'm resolving this effect, I have found myself just summoning Quem from the deck rather than Lulu Lilith. But at other times, I've found myself, like, dumping this and things like that. I don't know, it's really, really weird. But I could see myself cutting this, to be honest. We'll see. Some more thought needs to be put into the extra deck, but at the same time, I don't want to put too much thought into the extra deck because it depends if there's a ban list or not before Nats. And then side deck. We got some spice in here. Obviously, you've seen that I have not been playing the Expulsion or the Puppet Lock or anything like that. Didn't need it. If you're going first and your cards resolve, you already win the game more often than not. Day 2 at London, I lost because I specifically set up the Puppet Lock and my opponent flipped Ravelry. I wanted to test using the space for more generic non-engine, and so far I haven't missed a Puppet whatsoever. But we'll see. It is just a free win and definitely saves time on the clock. Although every round at the regional didn't even come close to going into time. So the deck, if you play it properly and know when to scoop, just plays super quickly. No need for Masquerade or anything like that. But yeah, side deck, we have 3. There can be only 1. We are in a hand trap format, and so I wanted an auto win button going first, assuming all of our engine gets stopped. So if you can just flip that against most of the top decks right now, they can't really play through it. We have 3 Kurikara. This card is nuts. We got zone locked for 9, had 1 zone left. Our opponent had like double Shangri Era, Fenrir, Mind Hacker, Arise Heart, and we just last zone Kurikara attack for 9k. Single-handedly won an entire game, which was crazy. Kurikara is nuts. Good against Cash, good against Pearly, and yeah, it's very expensive for good reason. We also have 3 DD Crow in the side deck here. These were originally Bestials. It was 2 Magnemite and 1 Druis Worm, but my theory was for siding patterns against Super Heavy, generally beating the deck involves having 2 hand traps, 2 well-placed hand traps, and so I didn't have anything, when these were Bestials, I didn't have any additional hand traps I could side into the matchup. So swapping the Bestials for DD Crows, you of course just banish the Piercer from the grave in response to the Link 1 effect. It's pretty decent, gives us an additional 3 hand traps to side in going second into the matchup, which puts us up to 15 in the main deck, and then I have 1 more in the side deck here, which would be 16 in the main deck, and that gives you a decent chance of seeing 2 in your opening hand to stop them from playing, and then pop off with your starter, hopefully. Just turns into a hand trap match. Next up is a very spicy tech option. Well, not this. Pancratops is just good going second, but alongside Pancratops, I have 2 more copies of Pancratops. This is Sage de Fleur, and a lot of super heavy decks are playing this in the side deck because it outs floodgates like the 5 Rainbow Magician. And then when it's sent to the grave from the field, you can search a level 1 plant, and they were using this to search Predaplant Spider Orchid, which is also like an MST essentially in the scale. So when I realized that, I decided to check the level of Bufo because that's never been relevant at all. And the level of Bufo is actually 1. It is a level 1 plant monster. So you can search Bufo, which is a polymerization in scale for Dark Fusion monsters, off of the Sage de Fleur when it's sent to the graveyard. This has a lot of applications. A lot of lists are playing anti-spell, and obviously our deck crumbles to things like Rivalry, Grave of the Super Ancient Organisms. We've got viruses going about calling spells against branded, obviously. This kind of deals with all of those things. Like, say you normal summon Aliber, right? They activate anti-spell. You can activate this, target the Aliber and the anti-spell to pop the anti-spell, and then you just play from there. So this outs floodgates. This is really good, and you probably think Cosmic Cyclone just does the exact same thing, but an issue I always had with Cosmic Cyclone is it never felt good siding them into random matchups like Sprite and Dragonlink, who typically don't have any impactful back row in engine for you to hit, and this just provides the utility of if they have a floodgate, you can pop it, and if they don't have a floodgate, you can literally just pop any card on the field. So I thought this was really good. I didn't see any of my side deck except like 1 Kurikara and 1 Crow the entire day, but in theory I think this is incredible. It's also just a free 2900 body. You can pop Bagooska with this. There's a lot of applications, and I think it's really good. Don't want to cut it for nationals, but we'll see. We'll see. And then we also have 1 Ghost Spell. A lot of people are citing Ghost Spell for Expulsion. So I assumed a lot of people would be citing this against me, so I, cite it in as a not only a 4th hand trap for super heavy, but also just a cross-out target going first against a lot of decks. We have 1 D-Barrier also for cross-out. I think a lot of people are still respecting branded right now, so a lot of people respect the deck and are playing like anti-spell D-Barrier, cross-out target, might as well. Might swap this out, because a lot of the time you side this in for cross-out, your opponent doesn't side in D-Barrier, so it's very situational, and the deck actually has plays through D-Barrier now. Like one of the games I got D-Barriered, a normal summon Keeper searched Fusion Deployment and then summoned Cartesia so I could play on their turn. So yeah, I could potentially swap this with like a 5 Rainbow Magician just as an auto win going first against super heavy, potentially, I don't know. And then finally we have a Harpy's Feather Duster as the final slot in the deck. I did want to respect Labyrinth and back row decks at least a little bit, especially at a small Scottish regional, and so we have Feather Duster, Pank, and Double Sage as our sort of back row cards. Whether that's enough or not, I don't know. But yeah, overall, I thought the side deck was really good. Everything got sided in at least once. Going first, I sided this in every match, never seen it once, unfortunately. I also sided these in going second every matchup as well, except against super heavy, so kind of unfortunate that I didn't see this. I really wanted it to put in work today. On paper, it should, but we'll see going forward. Either way, though, that is the entire deck. Overall, it felt really nice. We opened unplayable once, and that was game 2 in the super heavy game, but it's fine. 15 games in total, bricking once, it's not a big deal. And yeah, I guess if you have any thoughts about the deck, let me know in the comments down below and I'll get back to you. But other than that, second place, baby. Let's go on to the matchups. Alright, there isn't a great way of doing this other than just commentating over sped up gameplay, but round 1 we win the die roll against Heroes and start off with Deployment, summoning Cartesia. We then follow that up with Branded Opening, summoning Aliber to search for Branded Fusion, activate Lost from hand, activate Branded Fusion. Our opponent has no hand traps, so we're in a pretty good spot. Summoning the Albion, we go chain 1 Albion, chain 2 Lost to add Mercurier, and then we fuse for the Lubellion, chain 1 Lubellion, and we chain the Cartesia here as well. Summoning out Grand Guignol and Lubellion resolving, we summon out the Mirror Jade. Grand Guignol effect on summon, we dump the Adlib. Lubellion tributes Albion, and then we proceed to the end phase. Cartesia adds herself back, and Albion sets Branded in red. So we have our full combo set up here, which should generally just mean we win the game. But we're against Heroes, and Heroes is a very hard deck to interrupt correctly. They start by normal summoning Stratos, and we allow the effect to go through, so they add a Mali and then activate Virus in hand, discarding Mali to special summon itself. I do read it to make sure the hand effect is a hard once per turn, and it is, so we shut down that line of play by just Mercuriing the effect in hand. They activate Thrust, which is very scary because there's a lot of cards they can add here, and they add Triple Tactics Talent, fire that off with the effect to steal a monster. We do have to think a little bit here, but I think it's just fine if they take the Mirror Jade, because if they like link it off or something, we can just, you know, make an ad-lib play and revive it anyway. So we don't respond with anything here, and they do take the Mirror Jade, and then their next action is Fusion Destiny from hand, summoning out DPE, of course, the classic. Remember when we played DPE in our deck? Just searching Fusion Destiny. It was good times. They realize they already have a Mali Engrave, so they send Denier and a Dreadmaster to summon out the DPE, and then from there they activate the Mali Engrave to summon out the second copy. That is indeed a monster being special summoned by the effect of a monster, so Grand Guignol is going to trigger, and we can summon either Quem from the main deck or Lulu from the extra deck. And I think because DPE is already on board, Lulu doesn't really achieve anything, so we go for Quem and activate effect to dump an Albaz, chain Ghost Ogre, chain branded in red, target adlib. We have to do this here to get more value out of Guardian Chimera, so summoning Chimera, we go chain 1 Chimera to draw 1, pop 2, chain 2 lost, and I meant to go chain 3 adlib, summon back the Quem, but I forgot to do that, and our opponent goes chain 3 DPE, pop Mali and Chimera, but we do protect it with opening Engrave. Our opponent is able to respond on this chain because branded in red was not chain link 1, and therefore the when effect of lost does not apply. But yeah, adding an Albaz off of branded lost, we pop the Stratos and DPE, leaving our opponent with just the Mirror Jade, and of course on resolution they're going to get the DPE effect to bring a monster back in the next standby phase. But that's pretty much all they've got going for them. They just go into the battle phase and crash the Mirror Jade into Chimera, taking 300 points of damage, and pass turn. Of course, DPE comes back in the standby phase. Chimera currently isn't strong enough to be over it, and I proceed to play this like super incorrect. I special summon Cartesia and then normal summon Albaz, activate effect to force out the DPE, chain Cartesia, and summon Albion. Of course, DPE resolves, so if they do pop the Albion, we don't get the effect. Thankfully, because they attempted to pop the Chimera before it and we protected it with opening, I think they just subconsciously pop the branded lost with DPE, and that allows us to activate Albion and punch for game. What I should have done was special summon Cartesia and activate her effect, which either forces out the DPE or allows us to get rid of it without them responding thanks to branded lost, and guarantees victory either way. It is what it is, we take the game regardless, so on to game 2. Game 2, we are going second, and we open up Nibiru, so I'm feeling pretty confident. Our opponent starts off with Fusion Destiny, dumping Mali, Denier, and Dreadmaster for Destiny Hero Dominance. And this is a play I'm not familiar with, so, you know, I'm reading Dominance and wondering what our opponent is going to do. Checking Fusion Destiny to see there's no restriction to like 2 monsters from the deck or anything like that, like Branded Fusion. Nope, all completely fine. I am just very confused. So they then activate Mali to summon out the second copy from the deck, and activate Dominance, which stacks the top 5 of my deck. Apparently the top 5 were disgustingly good, and our opponent notices a Nibiru in that top 5 and proceeds to play around it by just setting 1 and pass. We top deck a Crossout Designator, and in our draw phase our opponent flips Mask Change, turning a Mali into Dark Law, so everything gets banished. We then activate Branded Fusion, they attempt to Ash, and we chain Crossout, which they gave us, so the top 5 must have been like really good. Resolving the Branded Fusion, we dump both Albaz and Dark Magician to summon Lebellion, and activate Lebellion, discarding a card for cost, shuffling back the Albaz and Dark Magician for a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and proceed to activate the effect of Dragoon, popping that Dark Law and burning our opponent for over 2k. We then follow that up with a Fusion Deployment, revealing Mirror Jade, summoning Albaz, activating the effect of Albaz, discard D-Barrier, fuse with the Dominance for Mirror Jade, and that is game on board right there. 1-0. Round 2, we lose a die roll to Super Heavy and open just a Ghost Ogre, so a pretty scary situation. They start by special summoning Fenrir, normal summon a Peacemaker, and scale a Benki, so not the greatest of starts from them. We do Ogre the Benki scale, which turns off a potential Wakaushi play in the future, and they don't really know what to do from here. They activate Fenrir to add another copy of itself. Typically, a Peacemaker by itself can still make a Baron or a Regulus, you know, it can still do things. So they proceed to link into the Scarecrow, link 1, and then activate the effect of Scarecrow, discarding a Gamma for cost to bring back the Peacemaker, then activate the Peacemaker effect on field to equip to the Scarecrow, and then you can activate the effect while equipped to tribute the Scarecrow and special from deck. They do opt to summon a Soul Piercer from the deck, and then link into the second Scarecrow, which is going to trigger the Soul Piercer, and they add a Wakaushi, which isn't going to achieve anything because they've already activated a Benki, and we ogred it. I think if they summoned Wagon instead of Soul Piercer, they could have been in a better spot by searching like Gaia Booster, then summoning that and making a rank 4 play to end on like Regulus plus Fenrir,
But yeah, they add Wakashi, Big Mike Wakashi, and then just pass turn. Thing is, our hand isn't too great either, so we're going to struggle through hand traps if they have any. We literally have Keeper, Albaz, Cartesia, Cobra, and then we top deck an Aliber for turn. After thinking through our lines a little bit, I figure out that the discard cost on Keeper is actually our best shot at playing through hand traps. So we normal summon Keeper and discard Albaz for cost, which is going to make the Cartesia in hand alive, and we search for Branded Fusion. This way, at least if we get ashed, we can still make a Cartesia play into Granguignol, you know, like dump Albion, set Branded in red, with Albaz engraved, still gets us to Engine and a Mirror Jade anyway. But yeah, special summoning Cartesia, we activate Branded Fusion. Thankfully, we don't get ashed, and we do have to be wary of the Fenrir, but Cartesia kind of insulates us from the Fenrir effect, which is fine, and I figure out a way to lethal. We send a Dark Magician and Albaz to summon the Lubellion, activate Lubellion, discarding the Cobra, you know, the brick of the deck, free discard fodder, thank you very much. Then we do chain the Cartesia here as well before our opponent gets a chance to use the Fenrir, so we fuse away the Lubellion and the Keeper into a Dragostapelia, and resolving the Lubellion, Dragoon comes out as well. The Dragostapelia here is actually really important because we need to negate the Fenrir but keep it on field so that we can pop it with Dragoon to get the damage to kill our opponent. So on res, Fenrir targets Dragostapelia, chain Dragostapelia to negate, pop and burn for 2/4 with Dragoon, attempt to go into the battle phase, opponent activates Nibiru, chain Dragoon to negate and destroy, and then that is lethal on board. Game 2, we open up our only unplayable hand of the entire tournament, Crossout Designator, 2 Imperms, Branded in red, and a Darlingtonia Cobra. 2 Imperms just isn't enough against Super Heavy when they open Wakashi plus Extenders. I Imperm the Scarecrow and the follow-up Scales, but they're able to make Baron and then Pendulum summon out a Wagon to get to a Regulus as well, so I just scoop them up. Game 3, going first, we open up DD Crow, Instant Fusion, Deployment, Dark Magician, and Cartesia. So Instant Fusion is our only starter here. We do fire that off, summoning out the Ambulance, and I choose to play around draw because we might as well. So instead of searching for Bufo on the summon, we just normal summon Cartesia and then activate the second effect of Ambulance, targeting itself to tribute, and special summon a Cobra from the deck, which is of course going to search Branded Fusion. On resolution of searching for the Branded Fusion, we do actually get drawled, so playing around it was the correct case there, even though it was game 3. And even if we do get ashed on this Branded Fusion, it's not a huge deal because we can just bounce our normal summon with Malong, and we have DD Crow as well. But there is no Ash on the Branded Fusion, so we're going full combo, baby. Dumping the usual Lubellion and Albaz for Albion, we activate the effect of Albion. We could go for Lubellion just to shuffle the Albaz back into the deck. We do have cards that can be discarded in our hand, so it wouldn't be a huge deal, but we do just banish the Albaz and the Ambulance for Mirror Jade because it's not 100% necessary yet. Bringing our Mirror Jade into the extra monster zone, we do tribute the Albion for Lubellion, activate the effect of Lubellion to place Branded Lost, and then we can fuse the Cartesia with the Cobra to summon out Granguignol. I do go chain 1 Granguignol, chain 2 Lost, forgetting that we were under draw, but thankfully our opponent catches it and we don't actually do the chets. But dumping Adalib off of the effect of Granguignol, we are going to go to the end phase, add back Cartesia, and set Branded in red. You know, the standard line, the standard Adalib Chimera line is just so good. Like, there's literally no way Super Heavy can break this with their engine. You banish their Soul Piercer on normal summon, what are they going to do? That's GG. But our opponent does start by special summoning Fenrir, and then activates its effect to search another copy of itself. Obviously, we don't really care about that. We're not going to remove this Fenrir and then let them summon the next one. But they do proceed to normal summon a Wagon, activate Wagon's effect on summon to go to defense, and then activate the effect to go from defense to attack. It has to go from defense to attack to get the search, so we chain Mirror Jade to banish the Wagon. Dumping Albion for cost off of the Mirror Jade to get follow-up. They essentially need to bike or Wakashi to continue playing from here. They don't have either of those though, thankfully. They do go Fenrir on resolution, target the Granguignol. We do just allow that to go through because we don't really care. After that, they just go to end phase. So, cool. End phase Branded in red, target Adlib, fuse with the Mirror Jade to make Dragostapelia. Chainlink 1 Lost, Chainlink 2 Adlib, summon back the Mirror Jade, add a Mercurier. End phase Albion adds Branded Fusion. This is GG. Round 3, we win the die roll against Dragons, which is a very scary matchup. In the draw phase, we start off with opening, discarding Adlib to summon out Quem. Quem effect on resolution, dumping the Cartesia. And on resolution of that, our opponent activates Saronir target Cartesia, which is a little annoying, but it's fine. Go and standby main, we normal summon Aliber, add Branded Fusion, and activate Branded Fusion. You know, Ash check. We don't get ashed, happy days, let's continue. All of our good light targets are in play already, so we have to send Albaz and a Ghost Ogre for Albion. Activate Albion, we banish the Aliber and Albaz for Lubellion. Lubellion, pitch the other Lubellion we have in hand. To summon Mirror Jade, tribute the Albion for Lubellion, place Branded Lost, and we already have Adlib engraved from the opening, so Cartesia didn't actually matter. End phase, we set Branded in red, and that's it. Over to our opponent. They start off with a huge normal summon of Starlage Seifert. That's instantly getting banished before they can activate the effect, so sending Albion for cost, we banish that. Activating Dragon's Ravine, they pitch a Gamma to dump a copy of Absolouter Dragon to the graveyard, which is going to trigger to search Rocket Tracer. Dude, I miss this deck so much. It's such a cool deck. Unfortunately, they do already have Collapse Serpent in hand, so they summon that, and we want to prevent the Striker Dragon access, so we flip Branded in red, target Adlib, summon out Chimera, chainlink 1 Chimera, chainlink 2 Lost, chainlink 3 Adlib, summon back the Mirror Jade, add a Mercurier, and then Chimera is going to draw 1 and pop the Ravine and the Collapse Serpent so they don't get to dump a card off of the Saronir. We do Mercurier, negate the Collapse Serpent search, but they have Boot Sector Launch in hand already anyway. They just have everything. Thankfully though, this final Mirror Jade banish is enough to seal the game. Game 2 was funny because going first, our opponent ends on a Spheres plus a set back row, and that is a D-barrier that they shotgun in our standby phase, and I have Crossart in hand. I just couldn't remember if I sided in D-barrier or not. Turns out I did, but I didn't want to risk the illegal activation with Crossart, so I just allowed the D-barrier to resolve. Proceed to main phase, we special Pank, and our opponent activates Spheres to bounce the Pank and summon Magnamute. Activate Magnamute to search in the end phase. Normal summoning Keeper, we discard Tragedy for cost to add Fusion Deployment, and with Branded in red in hand and Cartesia on field, we can fuse multiple times on our opponent's turn, so the D-barrier really didn't do anything. We just go to battle phase here and punch for some damage. Magnamute is of course 0-0 off of the Spheres effect. Setting both Branded in red and Crossart, we pass turn, and resolving Magnamute in the end phase, they add a copy of Absolouter Dragon. So obviously they have access to rockets, whether it be through Quick Launch or Normal Summon Tracer. We're about to find out though. So they end up activating Quick Launch, which is fine, summoning a Rocket Synchron from the deck, and then special summon Absolouter from hand and Synchro for 8. They do have a Link to Engrave, so they are going to Synchro for Borreload Savage Dragon, and that's going to be chain 1 Borreload Savage, chain 2 Absolouter to search for most likely a Tracer, and we chain Branded in red here, targeting the Tragedy. Savage will have its negate live by the resolution of the chain. However, because we're using Tragedy, we can chain block the Chimera, and that means Chimera stays on the field and Savage is going to get popped no matter what. So like I mentioned, our opponent adds the Tracer off Absolouter there, then we go chain 1 Chimera, chain 2 Tragedy. They don't negate the Tragedy with Savage. I guess there's not really any point because they're going to lose either way. Drawing 2 and pop in the Savage. They follow up with the summon of a Collapse Serpent, activate Boot Sector Launch to summon Tracer from hand, and then use the Chaos Space to put back Wyver Burster and draw a card. Synchro the Tracer and the Collapse Serpent into a Scarlight. So Collapse Serpent going to grave is going to grab a search for the Wyver Burster, and we do chain the Cartesia here to make a Grand Grignal, to dump them along, to bounce a Scarlight because we don't like Scarlight. Of course, they do have a Wyver Burster to follow up with, but that's literally the only playable card they have, so that is the end of the match. We are now 3-0. Round 4, we lose the die roll to Punk Gold Pride, and I'm not gonna lie, I've run out of time for editing before leaving for Nats. I could stay up all night to get this finished, but I don't want to harm the Nats performance, if that makes sense, so I do apologize, but the rest of the matches are gonna play out with music in the background, and then we'll have the prizes at the end as well.
second place at our first Cyberstorm Access Locals in the last one. Now, second place at our first regional of the new format as well. Are we going to keep the pattern going and work our way up to a second place nationals finish? Probably not, but we'll take the regional dub just now. So we got a nice little beautiful playmat, by the way. Arlecchino looking sick as ever, and we got a nice little pink deck box that can't really fit a double-sleeved deck in it, but you know, it is what it is. Very nice, and we have our entry packs to go alongside it. So we want to pull some money here, and then we can work towards our next rarity bump of the deck. Potentially Ultimate Alibers. We'll see. I think Starlights are maybe a little bit too much, and maybe a Collector's Chimera. I don't know. I do need a Secret Rare Millennium Eyes, but let's just go through our packs here, see what we get. Not really expecting anything. There was a Starlight pulled at the event. We got a Protect Code Talker. Yo, Nationals entry mat. Let's go. Super rare. Yeah, somebody pulled the Starlight Rare Gold Pride Chariot Carry. And I was like, damn, it should have been me. Should have been me completing the Starlight playset. We have Fufu here, Konkiri, we have Double Hooking, Quit, and we got an Ultra. We got an Ultra in the last one as well. We got the big Super Heavy, dude. I don't actually know how much this is. Probably not worth much, right? But an Ultra, we'll take it. We will take it. Ultra Rare Synchros do look nice. 3 packs to go. Come on, man. Give me some money. I mean, I can sell the playmat. I think Jess wants to buy it. That actually adds up to Ulti Alibers. So we're golden. Mechanical Dance. We have Fufu again, Konkiri, New Frontier, and Constellar Teller Knights. 2 packs to go. Honestly, 1 Ultra is about what you would expect. Not even an Ultra, to be honest, sometimes. Imaginings here, a 2 to the branded. We got Full Active Duplex. Another Synchro. We got Shanawo. Shanawo. I keep thinking the Synchros are Lulu Walilith, and then it's just not. It's just not. We're never that lucky. Also, didn't summon Lulu once today. Card feels kind of underwhelming sometimes, but I don't know if it's cuttable just yet. Alright, final pack here. We have Manadium, Imaginings, New Frontier. How did I get here? Fufu, and we finish it off with a Time-Tearing Morganite. Don't know what we're going to do with it, but hey, we got it. No sick pools, unfortunately, but it's fine. We got our playmat in the deck box. No complaints here. Next up, we have another locals to go to. Hopefully, we don't come second again. We'll try and go for the dub this time. Let's do it.